So an empirical formula is useful in providing us with the ratio of the number of atoms of each element that forms the compound. However, to get to that predictive property where we can take a look at the properties of the substance and explain it using the structure, we need to know the molecular formula. So the question is, how do we get from an empirical formula to a molecular formula? All right, so starting with the empirical formula, first thing we want to do is realize that the molecular formula has to be some whole number multiple of the empirical formula. So basically, all we're going to do is take the molecular weight. Now, the molecular weight is the mass of a single mole of these molecules. And so there are different techniques in the lab that you can use to figure out the molecular weight, which we'll be going into in other aspects of chemistry. But for right now, let's assume that we have the molecular weight through some experimental analysis. And again, through percent composition data or whatever, we figured out the empirical formula. We're going to take that molecular weight, and we're going to divide it by, I guess we can call it the empirical formula weight, which means we're going to take that empirical formula and add up the masses from the periodic table. So if we have our 5 carbons times 12, and we have our 10 hydrogens times 1, and our 3 oxygens times 16, we add all that together, and what we get is 118.1. So our molecular weight from the experimental data is 236.3. Our empirical formula weight is 118.1. And so if we divide the two of those out, we get 2. Now, this number should come out to be a whole number because, again, the molecular formula has to be some multiple of the empirical formula. So at this point, all we're going to do is take that empirical formula and multiply it by the number that we get here. So 2 times our C5 H10 O3 gives us then C10 H20 O6. So this then would be the molecular formula, which tells us that one molecule of the butyl galactopyranoside would consist of 10 atoms of carbon, 20 atoms of hydrogen, and 6 atoms of oxygen. Further analysis would allow us to come up with the structure for that compound. So that's the next step in analyzing the compound. We have the empirical formula. We'll move on to find out the molecular formula. And so again, it's just a simple process, but something where you just need to try a few examples to make sure that you have it down.